Hello, this is Adan Yurchick recording for TCGplayer.com. We're here for round 1 of my TPF draft. I won the die roll. I'm going to play first, and I'll keep this. I don't have both colors of mana, but I have 2 blue, which can hopefully get me towards Blind Phantasm and Aquamorph Entity, possibly as a morph, and foresee. And I also have this Ichor Slick, which I can cycle with the 2 lands I have. So this hand's actually pretty safe. And I will keep it, and hopefully I'll hit a land. And I can cycle this Ichor Slick if I don't draw a land this turn. I do. It's not a swamp. So now I do have the decision of whether or not I want to cycle it. I think that I'm better off keeping it. But it's hard to say. I suppose with Skittering Monstrosity, I would like to start drawing cards and hitting towards my 2 swamps. Also, I definitely want to hit foresee. I'm just going to cycle the Ichor Slick and get my curve insured. I'll play the Nice Defender and Blind Phantasm. This way, if I want, I can play the Entity for 4 mana face up. I could also cast Infiltrator Ilkor for 5 mana. The Phantasm with the 3 toughness, less likely to die, more likely to block this Dune Rider and prevent it from getting counters, which is what I absolutely want to prevent from happening. And if I have to, this Aquamorph Entity will be a great 1/5 creature to defend with. Ironclaw Buzzard. It can gain flying, so it's a nice attacker. I think the best play for me here is to just cast Foresee. I want one of those swamps. I'll put 1 on the bottom. I don't want Dreamscape Artist. And Erratic Mutation is decent against his board right now. I can use it to definitely take that Ironclaw off the table. Next turn I could suspend Infiltrator, take the Ironclaw off the table. I could also bottom it and hope that I draw towards Draining Welk or a powerful card, but I think that I'm going to get my value out of this card. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to keep both of these. And I'm going to pass the turn here. Brine Elemental, I'm looking to morph and then unmorph, but I'll also be happy to just cast it as a 5/4 if it comes to that. Henchfiend. So I'm just going to trade here. I could use Mutation on his Dune Rider now, if I desire. I could also just let it become a 2/2 and just decide to block it with the Aquamorph. I think that might just be my line here. I'm going to take out the Buzzard. Ichor Slick to the bottom, unfortunately. Suspend Infiltrator. Pass the turn. Now the Dune Rider could get bigger, so there is some risk to leaving it there. But I think the flying of the Buzzardier is more relevant for me. The Aquamorph's pretty nice defender against that, and as are my other large creatures. I could also argue that I can race the Buzzardier without problem, so I should just let that live and not have the potential to give him a large creature that could tangle with my creatures. Especially when he's red and black and has a lot of ways to get rid of mine. There's Big Game Hunter, so that's really awesome against his Nomad. I'm just going to cast that and then morph the entity. I could also morph Brine Elemental, but I think morphing the entity, offering a trade with his Dune Rider is fine for me. My plan was to just make a 1/5 and contain it, so I'm also fine just making a 2/2 and trading off outright. And in fact, I'm really glad to do that. That way his creature can't get out of control. He does attack, I'll happily block. If he has a trick or something, that's completely fine. And that may have actually taken out the 1/5 and cost me some mana. So this is nice. And if he had a trick, that would have been perfectly great too. Shivan Sandmage. He puts time counters on my Infiltrator, so that's annoying, but really he just has a 3/2, so no big deal for me. I can cast the Withering, I can morph the Brine. I think I just am casting Brine Elemental here. I don't have 7 mana. And I don't want to take a hit from the Sand Mage. I'll just play the creature and not get wrecked by something that does 2 damage. Or 3 damage, something like Ghostfire or his Ichor Slick. Now he's forced to 2-for-1. And while unmorphing Brine Elemental's cool, it's no lost value if I don't. It's not Megamorph, he doesn't get an extra counter or anything. He just loses an untapped step, which may or may not even be relevant. Now, I'm just going to Withering his creature and start attacking him. I'll hold the Swamp in case he makes me discard a card. If I discard 2 cards, then I get punished. Now Infiltrator comes in, now I can cast Monstrosity and really pressure him. He blocks. He must have something. So Brine Elemental is likely going to die, but I'll just replace it with Skittering Monstrosity, keep the pressure on him. So all the 5 damage that his creature takes is dealt to something else. Because his creature is not trading with mine, this is not actually as big as a disaster as it could be. He basically just destroyed my creature. If his creature killed mine, then he could redirect it to my other creature, like the 3/1, and kill them both. And that would be really bad. He could have Cradle to Grave up, but that destroys non-black, so Monstrosity's fine. He would have just killed the 3/1. He didn't. So I'm unsure what he has in his hand right now. Either something expensive that's going to completely crush me, or cards that don't do anything. Either way, I need to just kill him as quickly as I can. I'm out of action. Now I'm just relying on my cards in play in the top of my deck. I like where I'm at, but this could change very quickly. Grinning Ignis. Scary with madness, but as a creature is not too relevant. He can only use its ability as a sorcery. I'll just attack with my 5/5. If he wants a double block and trade, that's fine. The Skittering monstrosity dies if I play another creature anyway, so in theory I want to just get it off the board. But he actually opts to take it. So we have to assume he's going to use madness here. A huge Empty the Warrens would be nasty. And he doesn't even attack with it. So that really makes me think he's going to use it. Okay, he's actually just setting up a block. And there we have the heavy hitter. I'll cast this on his Deadeye. He's going to take 6 damage. And Big Game Hunter is going to waltz over past his blocker and kill him. Wow. Huge draw. So Big Game Hunter definitely gave me the value. Wow. Sweet. So, Viscid Lemur. Decent because he has black in his deck, so that could come in. It's comparable to Whipspine Drake. I could cut that. The Visid's actually a better blocker, and it's easier to cast in theory with 1 black as opposed to 2 blue. I could also cut Dreamscape Artist. Though it's a nice card to actually get all the lands out of your deck. You can, like, if the game goes long, whenever you draw a land, you can just sack it. Or you can discard it, sacrifice a land, and dig for more. And eventually you just have no more lands in your deck. So for a control deck like mine, that's actually pretty good. But it's kind of slow, especially on the draw. He's aggressive. I'll just cut that. Submit this. Also, with less 2-drops, my Erratic Mutation's more likely to deal 3. So that could come up, especially if I have the other 2s already and I can guarantee dealing more. I'll keep this. It has no blue, but I have a great curve of Trapper into sudden death. And I'm on the draw. Hopefully I'll just hit an island. There it is. Now I'm obviously in excellent shape to win this game. He has no play on 2. I'll play the Trapper. So now there's only 1 other 2 in the deck. He destroys it. That's perfectly cool with me. The problem with the Trapper is it takes mana every turn to tap their creature, so it is definitely a commitment. And I'm glad to just trade off and move on with my life. Now his 2/2 has flanking, so if I block it, it shrinks my creature by 1/1, so I can't block it. That said, I don't want to sudden death it because it's not that big of a threat. I can just turn the Phantasm back on him and start attacking. Siphon Mage is cool. It drains me. It costs mana though. It costs cards. it's not something I want to sudden death right now. I could also block it with my Phantasm. So I'll just play the Phantasm. I'm fine taking a little bit of damage from his Ascari, but I could definitely erratic mutation that when I want to take it off the board. But I have that Deep Walker suspended. I like to keep the pressure on him. I want to be aggressive. So that's the line I'm taking this game. I'm going to use my life total as a resource and take a little bit of damage and trade off damage with him. He doesn't have a threat there, so that's huge. Now, I'm not punished for not destroying his Ascari because he's not pressuring me with something I need to destroy. So now I can play more threats, or now I can take out the Ascari. Or I can take out the Siphon Mage if I desired, or just cast for C and stock up. Neolith. Ideally, I will just cast it for 6 mana this game. 7 turns is a long time. And it doesn't lose counters super quickly. I could have suspended it there and then guaranteed one if he used the Siphon Mage. But if he uses Siphon Mage, then I'm really happy to just mutation one of his creatures and leave him without much of any board presence at all. He does use the Siphon Mage. Oh, but he's going to Madness with it. So that said, I'm going to mutation his Madness outlet. So that's overkill. But I'm happy to actually get that out of the top of my deck. So the race is on now. I find a land, that's great. I'll just cast for C here and dig for some of my top end. Swamp, put that on the bottom. Dark Withering is quite good, but he does have black creatures and I have sudden death already and I don't have 6 lands, so I'll bottom that. Island's really not doing anything for me. And while I do have double blue, I also have a lot of islands. So I'll bottom that. At Big Game Hunter, that could definitely come in handy. So I'll keep that. And I do draw an island. The Big Game Hunter is good because I have Pit Keeper to possibly get it back. It also destroys the exact creatures that sudden death doesn't kill. It's really everything I wanted with that Dark Withering. But for cheaper. I'm happy to let him pay Echo for that. Just going to pass the turn. I'll double block the Deadeye if he attacks with it. If he attacks with the Ascari, I can just double block that. Either way, I'll trade 1 for 1, which is perfectly good by me. If I can get 4 creatures in the graveyard, then Pit Keeper gets 1 back. Nice double block here. They both shrink, but he can still only kill 1. And I'm going to take his creature out just to keep the tempo on my side, keep the pressure on him with my 2/2, and also I'm at 10, so I don't want him to be killing me. And I have Big Game Hunter for anything large he plays. And then that Ichor Slick is obviously an insane draw. One of the best possible. Draining Welk would have been insane there. I could have just passed without playing Neolith, countered his next card he played, and then won. And if he plays nothing, I just keep attacking him with the Phantasm. And pretty much no matter what he plays, I can just counter it. Even if Welk is 3/3 or 4/4, it's going to be good enough. And if it's bigger, obviously it's going to just kill him immediately. Cycle Ichor Slick. Don't have to destroy his creature because it can't block, but I have nothing else to commit to the board. I suppose that the correct play there was probably to just attack. That way, when he destroys one of my creatures, I can play the Pit Keeper and then get something back and play that. This was actually an inferior line. There's no reason for me not to attack first there. He has a wall. I'll just send into it. Well, actually, I definitely don't want to send into it with Phantasm. I'll just attack for 4 and he dies. Yeah. So this is Adan Yurchick for TCGplayer.com. Thanks for watching, and please join me for round 2.